I think what happens a lot is people want to start with the smallest, littlest pistol that they can have, and they want to learn how to shoot with that, and those tend to be even more challenging. A couple examples, I have like Glock 43, 48s. I think they're fine pistols. I think they serve a purpose. I don't think it should be somebody's first pistol.
What is up, everybody? Mark on the mic here. Mr. Pete from Vortex Edge.
How's it going, Mark?
It's going great. Glad to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Pete, we've been doing a little bit of shooting down at Vortex Edge. You've been helping me out, trying to get me to shoot a pistol with at least some level of competency.
We're getting there. It's always a journey.
I feel like you've taken me on as like a personal challenge. You're like, man, I'm going to see if I can do this. I'm kissing up, too. I've got my Vortex Edge pencil today to take notes with.
Nice.
When we were getting a pistol set up, we got a lot of pistols. If you're watching on YouTube, or if you're not, I guess there's a lot of pistols on the table here, one of which is the one we've been working with. When we were setting it up, you said something that kind of stuck with me, which is why we're here right now. You said, man, for concealed carry or a person's first pistol, which oftentimes their intention is concealed carry, you would recommend a full-size pistol.
Kind of the full to mid-size.
Full to mid, okay.
I think what tends to happen, so shooting pistols, as you've kind of discovered, is very challenging.
Yes.
It is. It's a very challenging thing. And I think what happens a lot is people want to start with the smallest, littlest pistol that they can have, and they want to learn how to shoot with that, and those tend to be even more challenging. A couple examples, I have like Glock 43, 48s. I think they're fine pistols. I think they serve a purpose. I don't think it should be somebody's first pistol. They're very challenging to shoot versus a full-size gun. You don't have any advantage with a tiny framed pistol.
Well, and I can tell you, just like, and we've done a few pistol-related content pieces here at Vortex. I know Jim and I spent some time at the range with you guys before. I just don't shoot a lot of pistol. Like, it's not something that I do, but I can attest to the fact that it is a skill that takes some practice and some doing, and I would say some proper instruction. I'm sure you can learn a lot from the internet, but the in-person stuff is pretty invaluable.
Yes, absolutely.
Anyway, where I'm going with that, struggling, right? And I can't imagine trying to do it with something harder, but in some ways, though, let me ask you this question, though. If that's what you learn on, wouldn't you just learn how to shoot the smaller pistol too, or not?
I think people tend to get dejected.
Okay.
So let's like the 43, the 48, the tiny SIGs, the shields, the really small guns. There's a lot going on there. There's a lot more perceived recoil. There's a lot more muzzle blast. Okay, versus, even a full-size gun in the same caliber, the recoil's more. It's just that much harder to shoot. It would be like, instead of learning how to ride a bicycle, I'm just going to learn how to ride a unicycle.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, you're not getting any advantages there, right? That's not to say they're not useful, but I think if that's someone's first experience with a handgun, they're generally not going to be successful.
Pete, my goal is that you teach me to shoot a pistol off of a unicycle. Let's get there.
Well, it'll be a while.
That might be a little lofty. Safely, by the way.
It'll be a while. So the handgun you were shooting is this full-size M&P in 9mm, and I think that's kind of the way to go. That or a full-size Glock 17, that's generally what I recommend for people for their first handgun. They're very plentiful. I think they're easier to shoot than the little guns. Even women with smaller hands, most of the time, generally, if the gun fits them, they will have much better success shooting a 17 than they will something like this. It's just, We'd have to shoot them side by side, but there's less muzzle blast, there's less muzzle flip, there's generally more gun to hold on to. Where these really small, tiny ones, they're great to conceal. They're a little more challenging to shoot. I would actually say, like, you would have to be more of an advanced shooter to get the most out of those guns. And typically, those are the first ones people go for.
Yeah, for sure. If you have one of these smaller guns, is it like one thing that we've been working on, like, just like, oh my gosh, it is so easy to put input into the gun.
Yeah.
Sending rounds downrange, not where you want them
right.
to go. Is it even easier to do that with one of these smaller guns?
It might be. It might be.
Okay.
It depends. I think sometimes, a little bit more muzzle blast, okay, that tends to create, some flinching going on, some pre-ignition push. There are really no advantages to just learning how to shoot those guns to their full potential. My advice, like I said, go for a full size, take that to the range, take it to a class, learn how to shoot it really well, and then start looking at like something like a Glock 19, which is a little shorter barrel, little shorter grip. Look at that, then maybe look at the smaller guns, and then all three of these guns can kind of fit into your concealed carry lifestyle. This is a great pistol to carry on a day when it's 100 degrees out and you're wearing shorts, but it's not the easiest thing to shoot. So people, and, to be perfectly honest, some people just want to carry a gun, just because they can. And they don't really understand the limitations of a small pistol if they ever had to use it for real. So as a good example, I shoot a lot of competition. Everybody in competition shooting these guns, where time and points matter. I rarely, if ever, see anybody shooting those guns. When speed and accuracy is on the line, generally you're going to be better off with a larger frame pistol.
What if you are like a very, like, okay, this might be extreme, but like maybe like an extremely small statured person? Would that be a time where like you'd go to like one of these smaller guns, or you think in general most of the people, men, women, small statured people, they can still?
There's always extremes at either end.
Sure.
I think this is the gun we use in our intro to pistol class.
Which one is that?
The Glock 17.
Okay.
Full size. This is the one we use for the intro to pistol class. It is very rare that we have to go down to a smaller gun for an intro class. I mean, it happens. Sometimes you get somebody with just really small fingers and they just can't reach the trigger. But this gun will actually fit most people. If you look at the backstrap here, okay, when Glock came out with the Gen 4, this frame right here is actually narrower than their previous generations. So without the back straps that you attach onto the gun, this is actually a pretty small.
It's a fairly petite grip there. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, it's not as small as these, but it's still fairly small. So, like for example, when I shoot, I have the largest grip on there because I need a little more real estate to purchase, to hold on to grip the firearm. So these guns will actually fit most people. And generally when we're doing that, we're making sure that their finger can actually rest on the trigger, that they can activate the controls. And for the vast majority of shooters we have, the Glock 17 will fit them to shoot on the range. Now, whether or not they can actually carry that, comfortably and conceal it, that's another story. But I want people to be able to train, to practice, get really comfortable with shooting, invest in skill, before they invest all the gadgets and everything else. I want them to be comfortable with shooting the firearm.
I mean, it's almost like, you're going like you got the big with the full size, and like a Glock 19, kind of like that mid. It's like almost like this is like the expert status. Like if you get to a point where you can shoot this, and I'm not.
It kind of is. It kind of is. I struggle shooting those smaller pistols. And I also have big hands, but the really small ones, I don't shoot nearly as well as a full size handgun.
I was gonna say, like, if you're watching on YouTube, Pete, yeah, you're you're a pretty big guy. You got some pretty big mitts, but you're not speaking just like, well, what I like because I'm built this way. Like
Right.
you're running a lot of people through classes. You're encountering and working with people of all shapes and sizes. So it's not just like, this is my personal preference. That's what you should do too.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we've run a lot of people through these classes. This is what we found.
Yes. So, yeah, most people think, oh, I can't, it's a full-size gun. I wouldn't be able to handle that. And actually, they start shooting it, and the experience is a little more comfortable, and it's less challenging to them.
You mentioned something, you're like reaching the controls. So maybe a person who's considering what size of pistol they're going to go with, talk about maybe some things that they can do when they pick it up and they're giving it the old, the once over and the look and the feel, like to be able to test and see if it might be right for them.
So, the big thing I think is when you grip the handgun and grip it properly, okay, we want to make sure that our finger is, we have enough reach here to actually reach the trigger. If we have smaller hands and we're really struggling or we have to compromise our grip to get to that trigger, that's probably not going to work for you. Just talking with Eric before we came in here, he thought he had small hands and, I wouldn't be able to, run this backstrap. And we picked it up and I showed him and I'm like, no, you'd be able to run that fine. Mm-hmm. My recommendation with a backstrap is to run the largest one that you can comfortably reach the controls. I think in general, that will be the easiest one for you to shoot. Large backstrap gives you a lot of real estate. Okay, it's a little more to grip onto. As long as you can reach the trigger, and if you have to shift your hand a little bit to hit the magazine release, you'll be just fine. Mm-hmm. But I think most people just pick the gun up out of the box, and this is like the default grip size.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'd assume, like, oh, that's like the one that's for everybody, and I feel like, I'm a pretty average statured person. I'll probably go with that one. But like you said, we made that adjustment, and one thing that I found was like it seemed to me like it almost like filled like voids, if you will.
Yeah.
And so like it took up potential for that pistol to move around, maybe where I don't want it to move around, and keep that grip as best as I can right now.
A good analogy is with a rifle. If you are a taller guy and you have a rifle with a really short length of pull and a really short stock, mm-hmm. you're really going to struggle trying to get a good rifle shoulder connection. Mm-hmm. So if you're somebody who has larger hands or even average to large size hands and you're trying to grip a pistol that has a really small grip, it's kind of like the same as length of pull. Like you're going to be fighting that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Man, that I don't think I have any other questions about. Did we miss anything or some other stuff that we should speak to before we jump out of here?
No, I mean I don't have anything against the really small pistols. I just don't think they should be somebody's first handgun. I mean, not everybody wants to buy a lot of handguns, but I'd go with a full size, and then I would research something like this is a Glock 19. That's probably the most popular handgun in the world. Kind of a great balance between shootability and concealability. Mm-hmm. All right. Mm-hmm. And then these small pistols right here, I think those need to be guns that you buy down the line once you kind of figure things out. Your shooting skills, you're confident, and then, you can wear those, carry those on like a hot summer day.
You reminded me of, I did have a last question.
Okay.
I've bought a full-size pistol. I've taken your advice, but I do want to carry it. And we'll say I'm an average statured person. Are there tricks or is there a best practice for being able to do that that's going to make it more practical, more comfortable, more whatever?
You need to get a good holster. You need to invest in a good holster, and you need to do some research, okay? Sometimes just going to like the big box store and grabbing a holster off the shelf, that's probably not the best thing. If you're interested in doing appendix carry, mm-hmm. That's usually pretty forgiving on average to larger frame pistols, okay? But like I said, we're looking at extremes. If you're a very small statured person, that may not work for you, mm-hmm. okay? I don't generally like people modifying their clothing. Generally, if you wear looser shirts and stuff, it'll be easier to conceal. I'm wearing a hoodie. It's wintertime. That's kind of easy to conceal, but I don't want people to go out and buy a whole new wardrobe just to carry a handgun. Kind of work the gun around what you carry and your lifestyle. But generally, I think appendix is going to be a little bit easier just because of the location on the body. But, a lot of it depends on your body type and, like I said, your clothing lifestyle, what you wear.
Gotcha. Cool, man. Pete, appreciate it.
All right.
I appreciate all the help down at the range lately as well. So
Yeah. You're scheduled in 2 weeks, man. Better practice.
we're going to get there, hopefully. So, all right, awesome. Well, thank you, Pete. Thank you, everybody, for listening. If you have any more questions on picking the right size pistol for you, ask Pistol Pete over here. Oh, sorry, I had to do it. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Take care. We'll catch you on the next one.
There you have it, folks. Thank you very much for listening. As usual, give this video a like if you liked it, comment something below, and give us a subscribe to the Vortex Nation podcast channel. It would mean a lot to us. Also, why don't you give us a follow over on Instagram while you're at it, at Vortex Nation Podcast. We'd love to hear from you over there, and we'll keep you updated with all kinds of cool photos and videos from our adventures that we do here. Otherwise, we will see you on the next one. Thank you again. Happy hunting and shooting, everybody. Have a good one.